So, you know, people think that we are divided in the legislature. We pass the majority of our bills in the state legislature with a bipartisan vote. There are certain, as I explained it to people, philosophical differences between the Republicans and the Democrats, and those are things that we're really not going to come to terms on. But there are a lot of other things that we do with our business that we are, you know, united on.
Thank you. And I will say, yes, the majority of the bills that we passed last session were bipartisan. However, the majority of the bills that we introduced as Democrats didn't even get a public hearing. And this is when we get to the separation between, when we look at the red and blue areas, the more sparsely populated areas and the more densely populated areas. Our policies that we put forth have been more of inclusion, right? When we look at people, when you live closer to your neighbors, you tend to have a better understanding of what's going to be for the greater good, whether it's expanding, whether it's Medicaid expansion, whether it's, in my opinion, raising minimum wage, because you see the effects because you live so close to your neighbors. When you're out in more rural areas, when you can literally go maybe a few days without even seeing anybody else and still be able to live and get along in life, it becomes, you have a different perspective.
But it is absolutely the case that there's pressure on both sides not to talk to or engage or compromise with the other side. Quite often, there's this whole sense of what team jersey are you wearing? For what it's worth, you know, I see that as a very real issue, and I've tried to, A, not have a compelling need to hate people who disagree with me on an issue or ask first what their letters behind their name. And I do agree, there are a lot of issues around Milwaukee where I think Milwaukee, as the economic engine of the state, the most voters, the most employers, doesn't, and I know, you know, do a series on shared revenue and compare our county to all 72 others. I don't want to be bailed out, but I'd like a fair, you know, just to be at the same level, and we're not on everything.
You know, I get tired of these stupid political campaign solicitations that I get that begin with, I'm fighting for you. So, you know, no, I don't want you to go fight for me. You know, I want you to go and get work done for me. And that means that you have to figure out how to collaborate and not how to fight. In the business world, and I'm also a recovering lawyer, we can always find reasons, you too, we can always find reasons not to do the deal, right? Lawyers are always going to see problems. If you want to not do a deal, you can always see reasons not to do a deal. But that's not productive. The people who are productive and who add value figure out how to get something done, even when it's hard and even when you don't agree on everything.
There's a heck of a lot of overhead with all these levels of government. And you know what? In my opinion, we tax plenty in this region. I think we tax too much. But before we talk about any other things, we need to think about an entity of how we serve the public. And that was what I was alluding to with a blank sheet of paper. You know, these entities have been formed long before the technology of today. Every entity has their own, every county has their own public safety network. They have their own communication system. They have their own computers. They have their own software. You know what? We hire the same kind of people that Mayor Barrett's hires in the city of Milwaukee departments in Ozaukee County. We hire the same, very much the same qualified people, the high quality people that want to work in the public sector and serve the public. So I think it's time we look at this in the totality of things and how we're organized. Can we continue to afford the organization that we have? I don't think so. I don't think it's sustainable, in my view. And I think there's opportunities to look at it like a multinational corporation would look at it from an acquisition. They squeeze out redundancies. We have redundancies in government, which I think we need to address.